Everyone to the subcommittee, the MLAC subcommittee on average weekly wage for low-income workers. My name is Scott Strickland, UT him pronouns, labor co-chair of MLAC and labor co-chair for this subcommittee. Pass it over to Stacy for a sec for introductions, and then I'll just kind of work our way through the agenda, if that works.
Perfect. Stacy Lewallen of Fortis Construction. I am the co-chair for this subcommittee along with Mr. Strickland. So thank you.
Thank you. So I know we had a agenda that was sent out, sort of tentative. Terry, any updates, any kind of critical things that have come up in the last 30, 40 minutes since we talked?
No, co-chair. I did want to let you know that we have Ivo and Elaine from SAFE in the room, and Matt and Baba and myself.
Great. Hello to all. So I think that, covered a fair number of the basic introductions. Looking at the agenda that we have before us, I see it says, how many meetings to address this issue, what kind of data will be reviewed, who should be at the table, when will we conclude and report back, and then anything else that should be included. So starting off with that, number of meetings.
So I can let you know that the Access to Care is meeting twice a month through the end of September. So I don't know if that's what you would both like to do, but that is just their plan. So if you would like to do that, co-chairs, or if you would like to meet more often, it is up to you. Both.
I would say twice a month seems decent and not overly burdensome, but not, having kind of too much distance between discussions so that folks forget about topics and whatnot, but open to any input from Stacy on that one as well.
Yeah, completely agree. I like the idea of 2 times a month. And I think if we do have any work that needs to be done, just giving ourselves permission to adjust as we need. But I think that's a good cadence to kick things off with.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
Is there a day that is better than not?
Not particularly for me. I don't know about you, Scott.
Fridays tend to be better. Maybe Mondays and Fridays for me. I don't know.
Yeah, Fridays are typically decent for me. The next couple might be a little busy. I have a kid graduating, so you throw that to the mix. Other than that, once we get through that, I agree with that timing.
I could also do Thursday afternoons.
Okay.
Yeah,
Stacey,
and my calendar's pretty sporadic for the most part, so I can just try to accommodate wherever we land. Try and move some things around as needed.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start rattling off some dates because we need a room. So I have the room schedule in front of me, and then co-chairs, you let me know if these work or not. So let's start with Friday, June 6th from 9 to 11.
So that when I'm out, that is actual graduation day. So there'll be a whole lot going on then.
Okay,
selfishly speaking.
Friday, June 13th. 9 to 11.
That will work for me.
Co-chair Strickland?
Yes, I believe that would work for me.
Okay. Friday, June 27th. 9 to 11.
Works for me.
Works for me as well.
Okay, so Friday, July 11th, can you do 1 to 3?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Friday, July 25th, can you do 1 to 3?
Yes.
Yes.
Friday, August 8th, can you do 1 to 3?
Yes.
Yes.
Friday, August 22nd, can you do 1 to 3?
Yes.
Yes.
Friday, September 12th, 1 to 3?
I cannot do that one.
Okay. Can you do Friday, September 5th? Co-Chair Strickland?
I think I'm going to be out potentially. Final plans are like, I could be a tentative at this point. Final plans are still being worked out.
That is a maybe for me as well.
What about the
Can we-
11th? We had talked about maybe the Thursdays,
Well,
Thursday
I was,
afternoons.
I'm sorry, Co-Chair Lewallen. I was
Okay.
going to see if we could meet after MLAC on September 4th.
Oh, gotcha. Assuming I'm in town, yes, I could do that.
Yeah, that would probably work for me as well.
Okay. And we'll just say tentative at this point on the 4th. 1 to 3. Okay. And then Friday, September 26th, 1 to 3. That would probably be the last wrap it up meeting. We may not need some of these meetings if we're moving along quickly.
Sure.
That should work for me.
Okay, great. All right, I will get the calendar together and get it on the average weekly wage subcommittee MLAC website. Okay.
Thank you.
That's completed.
All right. So next, I see what kind of data will be reviewed and do we need to collect more data? The initial thought that I had on this, it seemed like there's kind of a policy discussion that we have been having and that we need to continue to have. I don't know that we need data to have just sort of a policy and structure of, theoretically how it should or ought to work. I feel like once we've had a little more discussion on that policy issue, if there are any recommendations of, we find it's not achieving the policy as we think it ought to, I feel like the sort of array of options to fix that is where the data really comes in. And it seemed like a lot of the discussion that we had some kind of basic information about the number of folks. Thank you to our friends at WCD for coming up with that. The number of claims that are currently there, the number of folks and sort of their income brackets and how all of that works. And then when we had all the different sort of proposals for, well, what if we did this instead? What if we did that instead? That's where the data piece really came in of like, okay, but what impact would that have on the benefits that folks are receiving, the potential for premium increases, and all of that. So I, in my initial thought on this, I feel like it won't be as data heavy to start because we already have some of that. It'll be kind of more of a policy discussion. And then when we've had that and are maybe on the same page there and are starting to move forward with, okay, now what do we do with that? Sort of more theoretical policy discussion, that's where the data points come in. And I know a lot of work from our friends at SAFE, from our friends at WCD, MCCI as well, to kind of flesh out what that would look like when we take policy and put it in the real world. But, open to discussion on that as well.
Yeah, I agree with your initial thoughts there as well. I think that makes a lot of sense. We need to figure out which problem we want to solve and what those numbers should look like. I mean, obviously, one of the things that I'm curious about is making sure that we're being fair to workers, to injured workers, but we're not incentivizing folks to not come back to work. And so that's kind of that balance that's important to me. And so I think once we get down that path, it's going to be looking at probably relying on what the insurers can provide for what that net net pay has been, and just so that we can kind of back into some of those data metrics. So that's what I would foresee would start to really play into this. But again, I think that's exactly in the same lines worth where Scott was going as well.
Okay. I don't know.
Co-chairs, is there any,
Yeah,
sorry,
go ahead, Terry.
is there,
No, go ahead.
is there anything we can provide to support you with that, or is it just dialogue that you're going to have with stakeholders?
I would say support-wise, you know, we've gotten a lot of really good support and information data-wise at the beginning on sort of where we are now. I feel like we have to have that policy discussion of, you know, is that meeting goals? Are there things that need to be tweaked or not, or whatever? Once we have that policy discussion, whatever the array of options to kind of modify the system to bring it back in line with the policy that we all agree on, whatever that looks like, I feel like that's when we would need additional information on sort of the impact for, you know, if so a lot of this comes from the AFSCME bill that was brought forth and the discussion of, okay, you know, low-income injured workers don't receive sufficient benefits. If we were to change how the average weekly wage was paid for those folks and the percentages and the 66 2/3, what impact does that have on costs and premiums and everything else? And so it's that kind of, you know, we have that first initial policy discussion, then we have the, okay, now if we were to tweak this out in the world, what would that do in turn? And that's where we need all the data piece. And I know that WCD will be a part of helping with that. I think, as Stacy mentioned, the insurers have a lot of that data and information and can run, you know, get with their actuaries and run some numbers on that. And then also, I know NCCI, I think, chimed in a lot on this issue. But I feel like we had the kind of list of what the other states and jurisdictions do. I think parts of Canada were included in that. We have some of the data that WCD put together on sort of the current state of things, data-wise, not necessarily policy-wise. So I feel like it'd be a lot of kind of stakeholder dialogue to begin with. You know, optimistically, maybe month and a half, we can kind of all get on the same page or a similar page, and then start diving into sort of what if A, what if B, and do more data collection then. But again, open to feedback on that.
Agree. I'm hopeful that initial stage goes pretty quickly. And then we can start getting into some of the work. The one thing that might be beneficial, and maybe it's already in the materials we have, I'd have to go refresh myself, but if any states have recently changed percentages and what those impacts were, if there's any data out there of a recent switch, that might be helpful to see, just to get an understanding of high level initial impacts as we're just starting the conversations.
Co-chairs, would it be helpful if I put the information from the bill on the average weekly wage subcommittee website? Would that be helpful? Because we have lots of information on the bill, and that way when stakeholders are looking, they can just go to the subcommittee, MLAC subcommittee website, and just go, oh, okay, this is what they're referencing. This is what they're referencing. Okay.
I think that'd be a great idea, especially as, you know, if we're sort of looping some other stakeholders in that weren't as engaged in this, or even folks that are engaged in this and many other things and want a refresher of, okay, wait, what is just this core of this issue that we're dealing with again? Yeah, I think that'd be good.
Okay.
So any other discussion on that point? Again, you know, this is in my understanding of especially the subcommittees, were pretty informal, and if we need to circle back and revisit this or other issues, you know, I'm totally open to that. This is just, I feel, kind of getting ourselves pointed in somewhat of a direction to take a first few steps. So next I see on the agenda is who should be at the table.
Yes, I just wanted to, co-chairs, make sure we can see the virtual table. Do you want to put the gallery up there? Just to make sure that if we're missing anybody, or if I need, at the Access to Care Subcommittee, there were people, I haven't had enough coffee this morning. There were a few people that weren't in the meeting that they requested I reach out and connect with some of the providers. So I just want to make sure that we're not missing anybody, so to speak. So as you look around the virtual room, can you think of anyone? Or
Yeah, I think it would be great to have Kirsten Adams. I think she brings a good perspective of various things. Definitely SAFE and other providers. I think they can help us with some informed data and decisions on that. Yeah, and then Scott, anyone else that you can think of that we don't have already?
Yeah, I was going to send an email out to a bunch of different labor folks. I know I had engagement from a few different organizations and unions that were interested in doing that. And I just wanted to ping them. I know AFSCME for one as priority, since it was kind of their bill that stirred up a lot of this discussion. And yeah, so I think I'll do some outreach on that front. And then double check too. I know that we've had this on our work plan, and there've been a few kind of points of discussion from other folks. So I think predominantly from the labor perspective, I think it'll just be unions, injured workers, Northwest Workers Justice Project, OTLA, others that represent those folks as well. And then kind of reaching out to other folks.
And I can do the same from the management side. So it sounds good.
Perfect. And I do see a hand up from Amber.
Yes, hi, I'm the Workers' Compensation Program Manager for Multnomah County, and we definitely have concerns with this from an employer standpoint and from a public entity standpoint. So I would be interested in being on the committee if there's a spot for me to help participate and provide information as well.
Great, thank you. And I think that kind of triggers a question about the structure of the table. I know in the past what we've done is we've sort of had two MLAC member co-chair facilitators, and then sort of an open invitation that there isn't really a structure of here's the panel of stakeholders or here's the panel of a committee or something like that. I'd like to keep it open and informal in that respect, just because I feel like that enables the broadest sort of outreach and level of support and kind of discussion for the topic. Obviously, if things go south or become unmanageable with the kind of level of engagement, we could narrow it at that point. But I feel like things are, we're all relatively professional and collaborative, even where we disagree. So would be happy to kind of leave it open to all, include, Amber, welcome to participate as much as you want to, and not have a formal structure of, only these people are really entitled to talk and only this data is to be analyzed. But again, open to thoughts on that as well.
I agree. That's the same way I was envisioning it as well. The partners that wanted to be engaged absolutely could be. I think we'll have a few targeted ones that will definitely want to have their inputs hopefully engaged at each session. But I think letting others participate as they so just desire and choose is perfect.
And I think, as you mentioned, I think there'll there'll be folks that are more impacted and more interested, obviously, and engaged more actively. But that's not to say that we can't have a kind of very broad scope here. I see another hand, Thais.
Hi, thank you. I would just ask if someone could proactively engage part of the WCD's audit group. I foresee this as having huge impact on how the work is done as it's all being looked at, and they're a huge resource and will be a guiding force as things change.
Great suggestion.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
Great. Thank you.
Co-chairs, I did want to let you know that there was a suggestion for Todd Johnson at NCCI to participate. I will make sure and email him. And Co-Chair Lewallen, Kristen Adams is on the call. I just wanted to let you know.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you.
Okay.
And I'd encourage stakeholders too, as we move forward, if there are folks that you think of, you know, I know, Amber, I think you mentioned representing Multnomah County and public agencies. If there are other folks that you know that should be involved, please feel free to reach out to Stacy or myself or Terry and say, hey, you know, Susie or Steve is with X group and is really great on this issue and should be at the table. So as much of that as we can have, I think is good.
Okay. Let's see.
So seeing next, when we will conclude and report back to MLAC.
Assuming we finish our work in September, would that be the October meeting? Would that be what we should plan? Or do we need more time for, I have not served on a subcommittee, Scott, so I'm going to let you provide some more guidance on this. It's more of a question for me, so.
So I know there's like a pre-session filing deadline. So this came about from a bill. I would like to target as much as possible having sort of analysis done that if anyone were to bring a bill that they would have time to do that for next session. So I know, I think we had a discussion on, or there was a discussion on this in the access to care. The session we're looking at what, September 1 or something like that?
Yes, I believe so. And this is ASME's. This came from ASME 705, and I believe that she's online. I don't want to put her on the spot. Odalis. I believe that you could file a placeholder. Is that correct, Odalis? Is September 1st? I don't want to put words in your mouth.
No, thank you. And I apologize. I've been sick all week, so I'm going to be off camera, but I'm here listening. Yes, in order to file something that's pre-session filed, I think the sooner the better. If it works with you all, I think September 1st is works great on our end.
And so I'm going to throw a wrench in this. MLAC, we haven't made this public yet, but we are looking to have our September meeting offsite on September 15th. We are looking at partnering with the Oregon OSHA conference. So again, this is all new. I haven't said anything. So the October meeting would be best for the presentation on this information, the access to care and this one. So again, anyway, so I haven't made the formal information. We need to talk with MLAC at the June 5th meeting. So September 15th MLAC meeting, we're looking at Bend. So the September 4th, sorry, I believe it's the 4th meeting would not be on the 4th. It would be changed to September 15th in Bend at the Oregon OSHA, or excuse me, the Central Oregon Safety and Health Conference, if everything goes as planned. So
maybe we could push the August MLAC meeting to the end of August and try and do the very tail end of August for a report back, with the understanding that there may be a little additional work to do so that we can meet that September 1 deadline.
Yeah, so we'll need to, yeah. We'll have to talk about this all in June. Yeah. So I don't have solid answers of anything right now. I apologize.
So I guess we don't have to, again, none of this is in stone today. So maybe what we can do is circle back. Stacy and I can touch base with some stakeholders. We can check availability and circle back with you, Terry, and then see about potentially moving the August MLAC meeting from, I think it's currently towards the beginning of August, push it kind of to the tail end of August. See if we could get both these subcommittees reporting back, and then that provides folks time to do all their filing and everything else, with the understanding again that we'll do everything in our power, but you know, things change.
Yes. August 7th is the date for the MLAC meeting. So, yes. More to come. Sorry to just drop that on you right now. I apologize.
No worries.
Okay.
And anything else that should be included, I see, is next up.
I feel like we're going to determine that as we go on, in my opinion. I mean, I'm sure there is. I just don't know what that is today.
Agreed. And I was going to say we should almost put that at the end of every
Each
one of these
meeting.
meetings.
I agree. What are we missing?
Yeah.
Help inform us.
So. All right. And I'm happy to do the alternating. I know Patrick and I do that. If, you know, Stacy wants to co-chair one, I co-chair another. If anything comes up, these shouldn't be too difficult to co-chair. And I figure we're mostly jointly co-chairing anyway at
Sounds
this
good.
point. So again, I think as collaborative as we can keep it in that sense, I think is good. So
Completely agree.
but happy to, if we need it formally to alternate, happy to do that too. So.
Okay, co-chairs, I will get the calendar posted to the average weekly wage subcommittee, hopefully by the end of the day. Everybody will have that. Okay.
Wonderful.
Great. Well, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Terry and everyone, and Stacy. Look forward to diving into this and getting some good work done.
Absolutely. Appreciate it.
Have a safe weekend,
Memorial
everyone.
Day, everyone. Take care.
Yeah, have a good long weekend. Thanks.